Hello, everybody, and welcome to Take Your Time, a Persona podcast where we play through Persona 3 Reload in real time, along with the in-game calendar dates. I'm Tom Marks, joined as always by Jonathan Dornbush. Jonathan, how are you?
Did my name cause you such anguish?
Yeah, it hurt.
It's fair. I get it. Yeah, well, it's because you've got one name on your mind, and it's our mysterious new pal in school.
Yes. Oh, how I just like all the ladies can't get Ryoji off my mind.
We'll talk about it, but I do love that the characteristic is like the ladies love Ryoji. That is just the defining thing about this guy.
That's his whole deal right now.
Yeah.
That and a cool scarf.
What more do you need?
It's true. We are talking about November 10th through 16th, which is a bit of free time, a bit of story stuff, a little bit of a mix of things, and it's interesting. There's some stuff to dig into. We also have a little bit of follow-up of last week. You know, it feels like the next look we were talking about last week. We don't know where we're going from here, but we know there's impetus. This feels like a lot of laying the groundwork, right? Especially for this trip that happens in next week's episode as well. Before we get there, a quick note on next week's episode. I'm on another trip, so I'm actually we're going to have to record next week's episode ahead of time. So if you're listening in the future, nothing will change. It's just that we won't have comments to go through, essentially. But if you're listening in real time, just know it's going to be posted at the same time, but we're just not going to be able to respond to questions, that sort of stuff, in the meantime. Additionally, we will have bonus episodes coming out soon for this month because we're going to record them before I leave so that they don't come out in December. Speaking of bonus episodes, let's do our confidant call out to thank all the people over at patreon.com/takeyourtime. We really appreciate everyone who supports us over there. You can get the show ad-free, a day early, two bonus episodes a month now. One where we dig into something viewer-related, usually about games or RPGs or something, and another audio one where we just chat for a bit about whatever topics come up. Last month it was anime, so if you want to hear our thoughts on that very totally not controversial topic.
Super niche.
You know, yeah. But we'll do our confidant call out for the people at the Palace Rule Cheer, those who show the most support to the show. We really, really appreciate you, and those folk are Akechi is a Jelly Bean, Astral Clock Tower, Brody S., Cameron C., Claudia R., Dallas, Damon, Dan, Dan F., Danimal Lover 01, Default Titus, Dexter, I Kill Gods for Fun, Caitlin E., Keegan H., Matt Attack, Metaphor Fantasio Out Now, Michael V., Philip S., Programmer Sid, Sam K., Sarah M., Shade, and Willy Wang Wang. Thank you very much, everyone. We really, really appreciate you. Jonathan, do we have any comments for this week?
We had a couple. Obviously, a lot of people were talking kind of about your theories from last week.
Sure.
And there are also some first-time players who share similar suspicions to you. A couple other theories and things. Sarah mentioned they liked your guess and also thought that their first guess was he is somehow a reincarnation of Akutsuki, which I really love.
Yeah, that is another place my mind went for sure. Because he was talking a lot about reincarnation, and he very much accepted his death in a very sort of ritualistic way. So there is, yeah, that's a good place to go too.
Yeah. So there were a couple others, and I don't want to perhaps say anything that might spoil, because there's obviously some stuff that gets into spoiler territory, but
sure.
A few other people, let me see here. Mitch was saying, per the two things this episode, I definitely was waiting for a heel turn from Akutsuki. He hadn't really done anything so far other than say good job around operations.
Yes.
I also vividly remember loving the way Ryoji looked when he showed up. Glad you were both into it. I'm excited to see where it goes and what you think.
Can I have a comment? This was not... If she actually posted on the Patreon, this would be a Patreon comment because she is a Patreon subscriber. My wife pointed out an incredible thing to me just a couple days ago that I didn't notice. I'm sure this is not the first time people have noticed this, right? But it is a really cool thing that I did not pick up on at all on my first playthrough. Pharaohs, he skips levels, and we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
The times that he levels up, goes 2 ranks, are immediately after full moons where you fight 2 shadows.
Oh.
So all the times that he goes up 1 rank is a time that the full moon was a single shadow fight. And all the times that he goes up 2 ranks, with the exception of the final one, because the final one you go from 8 to 10, and that was only the one big bad shadow. That's the only time where he goes up 1 instead of 2 when you fight, that's the only time he goes up 2 and you've only fought 1 shadow. Usually when you go up 2, every other time he goes up 2 ranks, you fought 2 shadows. And I think he levels up. I think you first get your first rank with him after you fought like 3 shadows. So it's not like 1-to-1 with levels and shadows, but
Gotcha.
yeah, it is a really interesting connection. So you go from 1 to 3 after you fought 2 shadows. You go from 3 to 5 after you fought 2 shadows. Then you fight 1 and go to 6. And then you fight 2 shadows and go to 8. And then you fight the final shadow and go to 10. So that's a super cool connection, and probably something that you could catch if you were really paying attention, going like, oh, I'm getting 2 on those for some reason.
Yeah, I skipped through that scene, like the scene at the end when you're like, yeah, you've gotten a new rank so often, just because I'm so used to it that I never put that together. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
really
I didn't
cool.
even realize we were skipping ranks with him until we got
Same.
to 10, and I went, wait, we were at 8 before.
Yeah, honestly, until you told me, which says something for the like level of detail where I do pay attention and where I don't. But yeah, well, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I wouldn't think about it any further. But
Well,
yeah,
that I feel like that's not speculation. That
no,
Pharaohs
that's
is
just a cool thing. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a very clear parallel going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. She pointed that out to me, and I was like, dang, that is a neat catch. That is a really neat catch.
I really like that. That's I missed that completely. So kudos to her, because yeah, I did not catch that. That's really cool.
Yeah. I think the last bit of housekeeping is the pop quiz. Is that correct?
It is. Go for it.
I believe what I asked, and I pivoted slightly on the day, so my notes are different than what I think I actually spoke out loud, is I asked, what did Ryoji, oh my goodness, Ryoji is going to screw me up with Ryoji and Ryoji. What did Junpei ask for at the flower shop for Chidori that made the flower shop person horrified, and then he ran away embarrassed? That was the question.
So I didn't do that scene, so I don't have the answer. But I have a list of answers, and I guess you tell me when I hit the right one. And if I hit it first, then we'll just read some of the others. But Shade said, wasn't it that the florist told Junpei the meaning of the combination of flowers he was trying to order was strange?
That might be, maybe, I'm wondering if you're playing in Japanese and it's slightly different, because that's technically sort of correct, but not exactly what the English version is.
Okay, I'll keep going. Mitch said it was because it implies you want to marry whoever you give it to.
I think that is correct. Again, we're dancing around the correct thing here. Yeah.
Okay, and then Francis said it was because they thought white flowers are mostly used for funerals in Japan, they thought maybe.
Well, so that is the thing here, is that the flowers were white, right?
Okay.
Which is the main thing, is that he says, I want white flowers, and she says, what, really? And I tried to look up the meaning of what white flowers is in Japanese culture, and it's mixed. The answers I found were that it depends on the type of flower, largely.
Okay.
But yes, white flowers often imply like unchaste love or pure love, right? And I think the implication there is like, it's a big gesture if you're
Gotcha.
giving someone that thing,
Okay.
right? And so she was like, Are you sure that? Are you sure about that? And
Really where you want to go here? Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
So everyone's sort of in the realm of like, it's a big, meaningful thing. But
yeah, because I think white flowers also are used in funerals, but it's different flowers. I don't know. I couldn't quite piece together the exact cultural implications. And if somebody out there knows better than me, that would be lovely to hear. But that was the general symbolism I found around general white flowers was like love and like very pure love, essentially.
general white flowers. Sorry. Himium.
Yes, general flowers.
Anyway. I do that still all the time. That's like the one thing from that show that has survived in my brain.
What show is this?
Himium. How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, wow. Himyum. Oh, that
Yeah.
upsets me. We can just move on.
Hey, it's better than How I Met Your Father, which you say is him yif. Try shortening that one and not getting weird stares from people when you call it him yif. Sounds like I'm talking about like a strange back itch I have. Oh, my him yif's really acting up today.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to keep this one on the rails a little longer, I think.
Nope.
Let's jump into the week. It is November 10th through 16th, which is a normal week. It is up through the last day before we go on this trip. And then next week, we're going to do the trip and the short aftermath after the trip, I think, a couple days after. But the 10th, the big thing that you talk about that's nice right off the bat is that Mitsuru will be back today. Because Mitsuru's been gone for, I don't know, selfish reasons, I assume.
How dare she?
Yeah. No, it's very sad, and there's some really touching little interactions that you can have with her this week. So it's good that she is back. Before we jump into the free time, because this day is basically just free time, there's a couple conversations. A lot of the conversations have reset at this point, and you can have a lot of conversations with people around town that I wanted to call out. Mochizuki being a player comes up a lot. There's a guy named Very Curious Student who's out on the front walk of the school, and if you talk to him, he says no one has ever been seen entering the school's observatory building, and there's no record of it ever being used. And he says, isn't that weird? And you go, oh yeah, that is weird. And also, I think a very nice hint that maybe some evil shadow science stuff happened in that building and it's all a front or something like that.
Well, I mean, it has been used recently.
Yes, I guess in the most morbid way possible it has.
I wish you could, like, reply that to him, actually.
And you can, I think that either a part of that conversation or part of somebody's conversation, there's people chatting about how, like, did you hear that the chairman apparently died by falling off of the observatory roof while he was stargazing or something, like that's the story. So people know that that's how he died.
Yeah.
They just don't know the human sacrificing context of it.
Well, I guess because it's never really discussed. It's like, I guess the Kirijo group covered it up, but it's like, it's not like we all moved a body, you know?
Right.
I assume.
Yeah.
They never talk about, hey, remember when we had to go bury Akutsuki?
Yeah. Yeah, the Kirijo group seems to have a lot of power over influencing how deaths are perceived throughout this story.
Yeah.
What was another couple things? Oh, yeah. Apathy syndrome patients are not recovering this time after the full moon. That was a noted thing, and you can find a lot of them around town. So that was something that popped up. And then maybe most important of all, the stalker girl kind of wants the stalker guy to ask her out. So I see a happy ending in that
They're
future.
such a funny back and forth.
They are.
It's a really, really silly runner. I really like that one.
One of my favorite parts about that storyline is that it takes place all over the entire map.
Yes.
Right? It changes. Usually these people are in like their location. This one changes locations constantly.
Yeah, you'll see them in the mall, like the station. They're all over the place. It's really fun.
Yeah. Okay, but what did you do during the actual day? Let's start with day.
I hung out with Chihiro just for points.
Okay.
Which I later regretted doing and changed some stuff around, but I didn't change that.
Okay, and we can get into why you might have regretted doing that later, because some cool stuff happens this evening, or the evenings in this week.
Yes.
I maxed out Bebe.
Nice. Okay.
So Bebe is done.
Congrats.
And you mentioned next week is probably going to be a slightly shorter week.
I think so. With the trip, will probably be a little shorter.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll probably have time.
We can jump into some because I know there's a backlog of those.
Yeah.
And we should hit a few if we can.
There will be so like obviously we're like toward the end of the game, so it's not like the game suddenly diverts into being like boring for a month or something crazy. As we we're obviously in crazy stuff is happening. But, oh, maybe my camera reacts to my arm moving too much. Anyway, obviously a lot of stuff is happening, and it's not like the game will take a break, but I would say actually the next couple of weeks will be a little bit shorter, so we will probably have some time to discuss in the next few weeks. So yeah, if we don't get to it the week after, we might the week after that. I think there will be time.
Yeah, because we have next week is the school trip, and then there's an entire another free week, and then we jump into the full moon, I think, right after that. And
yeah,
obviously we don't know if full moons matter anymore or whatever. Like, the structure could be different, but that's at least the benchmark that I am using mentally.
Sure. No, I mean, that is the way you have been trained over these last, how many months have we been doing this show? That's how long you've been doing that. So I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, then after the day, as we go into the evening, a couple things happen. Our shopping stuff arrives. It also made me realize that was the dolls, including homunculi, but it made me realize I've literally never used a gift in this game.
Yeah.
I don't know even how to, if I wanted to.
I don't know if you would have gotten the chance to yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems weird to me that it's so late.
It is. I'll be honest, I don't remember using a gift until the very end of my game.
Okay.
So.
Sure.
I actually don't know how you use them prior to when I did, but maybe there's a way to. Anyone out there, tell us how you use them.
The other thing that happens in this evening is that Mitsuru is home today, but literally just goes straight to bed because she's exhausted and doesn't want to talk to anyone. So you can't even see her in the dorm. She's just in her room with the door closed. What did you do during the evening, and did we do the same thing, or did you ignore your friends again?
This is November 10th?
Yes.
I
worked at the cafe.
I planted with Fuka.
Okay. To get points?
Even though she's maxed out on that thing, yeah, to get points. But then I rewound and hung out with Yukari to get points because she's my girlfriend and I still can't do the max rank with her. So I did that.
Okay.
So you tell me what you did. Tom, I need this platinum. I
should have hung out with Yukari tonight because I assume that there's a conversation you can have with Ken, or you can have a scene with Ken. And I assumed the scene with Ken maybe would come up later again too. And so
I did a scene with Ken the next night, so it's possible.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then I should have hung out with Yukari this night, which is a bummer to find out. But yeah, I took Ken to a bar because, that's what you do with your middle school aged friend.
Yeah. Well, he well researched this bar.
Yeah, we can talk about it now. You get a little scene where he wants to get Mitsuru a gift to make her feel better, which is very sweet. So you go to the bar in the shady alley called K Sara, and he has researched that the owner uses a special rare type of tea leaf in one of the drinks that he makes, and he would like to buy that tea leaf from the bar owner so that he may gift it to Mitsuru to make her feel better, which all told is a very, very sweet thing.
Very sweet, very... How did he figure this out?
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions about that, but it's very...
He's got the internet.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting that information would be out there that, oh yeah, this bar uses it. So...
Maybe
but
they've got a menu online.
Yeah, true.
How he went to search for that specifically, I don't know, but
he got there. He's a smart kid.
Yeah. It's also, there's this implication, or this, it touches on the idea that he kind of knows what she's going through because he lost a parent recently, and so he's been through what she's going through now to some extent. And then also you have a conversation about how he's trying to make an effort to live for himself, like Shinji told him to, and he's been hanging out with classmates that he usually wouldn't, and trying to watch shows or do activities with people in the dorm, and basically just get out of his shell and be a kid a little bit and have fun. And it's working for him. He thinks it's good.
Yeah, it's a really nice full circle moment from when he is hanging out with you on that night and the other kid and their mom approach you. And they had been talking about, like, oh, why doesn't he join in on things? And it's like, oh, he must have his reasons and whatever. This is a nice, like, oh, now he is. Now he is putting himself out there trying to do these things. It's really sweet.
He's letting the facade of I'm an adult kind of drop a little bit, which I think in retrospect is a defense mechanism. I think that is a thing that happens in real life, right? When young kids go through really traumatic events, they sort of feel this need or this pressure to grow up really fast, and they end up maturing really fast or acting like it, at least.
Yeah.
And putting on a brave face. And it's a very tragic thing that, stealing childhoods from them basically is what's going on. And so for him to sort of lower that guard a little bit and enjoy being a child a little bit more is nice. It's really nice.
It is. And then he brings it all around back to you and how great you are at the end.
Yeah. And now everyone in the dorm loves you and they couldn't do anything without you. It's like, oh, this got a little flattery.
Yeah. Thanks, I guess. I'm just here to help. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So that's that scene. You did that tomorrow night, but I did it tonight because I am a fool. The 11th.
Yes.
We jump into the 11th. You get this scene at the beginning of the day where there are some girls literally fighting over who gets to be with Mochizuki.
The ladies' man that he is. It is so silly where this goes. I really enjoy this bit. But yeah, just we're introduced to this guy. And I mean, like, I don't blame them. He's got like the cool scarf. Like, he exudes a certain air of badassness. So I get it.
And you see that confidence in practice this week as well with some other stuff. But what did you do during the day and the night? Actually, let's just do the day because I think we'll talk about the night together.
That's fair. Day, I finally hit rank 10 with my beloved. So Yukari and I are max rank. Finish off that storyline. I won't say anything, but I will when you do a romance arc. I just kind of want to hear from you when you max it out, because there is a funny thing that happens as a result of that. But anyway, that was my day.
Noted.
Yeah.
I got Yuko to 7.
Nice.
So chugging right along with that storyline and still enjoying it quite a bit. And then I hadn't hung out with Fuka or Yukari much yet because I was specifically waiting. I didn't want to waste time hanging out with them, right? So I was specifically waiting to level them up until something changed. And boy, did something change tonight. So before we get to that, Mitsuru is at the table upstairs, not on the second floor, but at the third floor, which is somewhere we haven't really seen people hanging out. So she's just sort of alone at a table in the dorm. Mm-hmm. And she says that she doesn't want to go to Tartarus right now because she doesn't really have a reason to fight. And then she very sadly is like, or to live right now, which is very grim. She's not in a good state.
No, I mean, she's in such a precarious position where her father has died in potentially the most tragic way. The people on this team have had their parents die in very traumatic ways. And obviously right in front of her, going through all of that, and also then still being expected to kind of be involved with the company to deal with the fallout of that. Like, she is in a very, very tough place. So it's not surprising. And I am glad in the way of not like glad she is feeling this way, but glad that they are exploring that, because I do think it's a really interesting position for her to be in.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely her at her lowest point when we have previously only seen her as this very confident character.
Yeah.
Or very, very steadfast at the very least. Yeah. Then in the evening, did you do what I did?
Well, I told you I hung out with Ken.
Oh, right. Never mind.
So what did you do?
I went to Club Escapade and I bought myself 1,000,000 vouchers for a dating website.
Hell yeah.
So now we finally have this mechanic. If you haven't gone to the Club Escapade this week, boy, go do it. And you can buy the URL to a dating website, and then you can go back later and buy as many copies of this voucher to use it as you want. And suddenly, we have a way to get points with any social link in the evening. So we now don't have these dead evenings as much as we can just pump points into the people that we are stonewalled with during the day and don't have to waste time hanging out with them during the day since all of the social link scenes are during the day.
Yeah, I remembered to do this. I think it was several days later. I forget what day. It's probably in my notes, but I did this a few days later. And so by that point, I was like, well, I'm a few days in. I'll just keep going. But that was when the Chihiro hangout. I was like, oh, well, I guess I didn't need to do that now. But it is...
Sure.
Yeah, it's really helpful because where we're at, hey, the nights are boring.
Yeah.
I really like this game. The nights are, and I obviously think this is an issue that stems back to the original version. The nights are just not well plotted out in comparison to the days in terms of volume of things to do.
And did someone said at some point that all those little hangouts that get you the characteristic upgrades are all new to Reload, right?
Yes, yeah, I believe
so. So those nights were even more barren than they used to be.
Yes, yeah, and those are great. Those are
than they were. You know what I mean?
It's fine.
And they are now.
Time is what it is. It is a really beneficial thing to the nights to have those. They're fun conversations. They work really well. But yes, it's kind of incredible to think, oh, wow, those, because that accounts for probably at least a couple dozen nights to not have is wild. Yeah.
Yes, 6 per party member. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 party members. I think, if I'm counting off the top of my head correctly.
Yeah.
So 6 times 8, 24 nights.
Yeah. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's not insignificant. So
not at all. Yeah. So you can get this dating website things. You can put points in people. I did that basically every night this week, I think. So I did a lot of that tonight. I did it with Fuka, who I was on a block with and am furthest along with.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's go to the 12th. You have a lecture from Ikoda, who I believe, is this the time? No, later. I get a thing. You have a conversation later with him where in my notes I just wrote, this dude sucks. But Ikoda has gives you a question about, or a line from a novel, I think it was, about early mornings in winter, which is very kind of cute little piece you get from him, but not much else going on there. And then you have a hangout, or you can do a hangout with Ryoji, which, Jonathan, did you abandon this to get the platinum?
So, I did this hangout, and then I rewound. So I did it, but I didn't do it.
What did you do instead?
My real thing that I did was I hung out with Chihiro and got her to rank 8.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I did this absolutely because my theory was correct. Hanging out with him doesn't get you social link or whatever, but it does get all your persona stats up by 1, which is neat and a good incentive because that's a very valuable thing to be doing. And yeah, I can go over this scene?
Yeah, I think so. I've seen it.
Sure. So you go up onto the roof with him, and there's a bunch of dudes who are like, hey, stop trying to steal our girlfriends by asking them out to meals.
And what's even better is his answer. His answer is so crazy. Did you write it down?
Well, not specifically, please.
Just basically that he's like, I don't even know which girls you mean because there's too many that like me. So why are you mad at me? Because I didn't even really, it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, there's a later scene this week that makes him seem less innocent than he comes across in this scene.
Yes.
This scene, he almost comes across like he's not asking these girls out on dates. He just wants to get to know people better, and so he asks them out for food. And he didn't know he needed to, he didn't even know they had boyfriends. Like, what are you talking? He just wants to meet these people. It's like very the vibe he's going with.
Oh yeah, at this point he can totally be read innocent but by the end of the week it's like, oh, you're trying to be with all the ladies. We get it.
Yeah. He also like apologizes and then also is like, yeah, but also I invited them out and I can't just cancel on them. They want to go out with me.
I can't be rude to them.
It's a very funny interaction where he's sort of this mix of suave and naive, but also it's hard to tell how much the naivete is a cover. I don't know. It's hard to get a vibe on him overall, which is, I think, probably sort of the point. Is that he's this weird guy you can't get a beat on. Even I guess is like, something's wrong with this dude, but I don't know what.
Yeah, I love it. I think throughout the week you can check in with I guess, and they're just always like, I don't understand him. I don't want you around him.
Yeah. You step in this conversation to basically, because they're gonna beat the crap out of him, and they recognize you as a person who's friends with the best boxer in the school and the class president, and go, maybe we should leave.
Yeah.
Which I really like, is you're not intimidating, but the fact that you're friends with Akihiko and Mitsuru is.
Oh, dang, he's got connections. We can't mess with this guy. Yeah, it's a very... Him we don't care about, but yeah, we should maybe back off here.
Reasonably so. I also like that they tell him to delete all of the girls from his phone, because at one point they're like, delete their numbers from your phone, and he's like, I have so many I don't even know which ones you're talking about.
Oopsie, what can I do? I'm a silly baby. I just have too many numbers. Yeah, it's very... Yeah.
So he deletes, he says he's going to delete all the numbers, all the girls he got from his phone. Yeah, and he seems very weirdly innocent, and he's like, okay, next time I'll make sure I ask if she has a boyfriend first. And then you get this sort of second part of this where you're just admiring the view, and he sort of ponders on, what it means to like someone and how much he doesn't understand the world, and he wants to know more about it, which is very suspicious. Almost like he's an otherworldly being that has been thrust into this universe for the first time in a millennia or something.
I mean, he's just a transfer student. He wants to know the area. I don't know why that's weird.
Sure. And then he wants to treat you to some ramen, and says, this part stuck out to me, although we find out about this a little bit later. He says he had just gotten some ramen with Junpei the other day. So he's hanging out with lots of people, right? Yeah. He's not just asking girls out. And he wants you to show him around town.
He's busy.
This is a thing that also that feels suspicious, but is also interesting about his character, is he isn't just dating all the girls. He is trying to absorb as much information as possible about every person and the location and the neighborhood and everything. He just wants to learn about everything, which is fascinating to me. And I don't know what it means yet, but I know it means something.
He has a curious mind.
Yes, that's exactly what it means. And then I went home and I thought really hard about Yukari on a dating website, which isn't weird at all.
No, the mechanism of this is so strange, the way it's put out there, because it's like, yeah, I went onto a dating site and thought about Miyamoto, and now we're slightly more friends. Yeah.
And also, a lot of the times if you're doing it with party members like Yukari or Fuka, they're like in the room with you.
Yep. It's a little strange.
Yukari just looks over from the couch and you're just staring at her from the computer.
Like me more. Yeah, that'll work, dude. I went to hang out with Mutatsu to get him to max rank.
Hooray!
But then I rewound and actually got points with Fuka on the computer because I went to hang out with her the next day and was in between. So I didn't max rank Mutatsu.
Wild.
That rewind feature, can I say, is fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
The fact that it lets you, I think it gives you a few days of day and evening that you can go back to, is really, really clever and really handy. And as far as I know, is not in Metaphor. But now
It's not.
now that it's been in this, I'm like, oh, I need this. Like, this is so handy to have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a formalization of a habit that people just, are gonna do no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, a good parallel, I think, although a slightly different genre, is like if immersive sims or Baldur's Gate 3 or games like that didn't have quick save and quick load, it would just, like, I'm still gonna save the game and then load it when something goes wrong. That thing just is embracing the fact that people are going to behave that way. They're going to engage with your game that way. So you might as well at least make it convenient.
Yeah.
And I think that's a similar thing of, like, you don't have to do the strategy that I've been doing since the very first time I played Persona 5, which is like a new save file every 2 or 3 days, right? You don't have to do that anymore. They have it built in.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, we've been preaching that from the start because that was a tip from patron saint of the show, Andrew Goldfarb, and it works great. But yeah, the fact that this is just a built-in mechanic is really, really handy and came in so much use for me this week. So
yeah. At least in this game, I still do it somewhat, but I'm not as broken up about doing larger gaps. I think is the thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you just thought about
Fuka while she sat on the couch.
Yeah, and tried not to make eye contact with you.
While I am boyfriend and girlfriend with another person in the room, I stared intently at another one of our friends while I was on the computer. It's not weird.
Well, so that was a realization I had because I got deeper into like Yuko's storyline too, and that was another realization I had about the way that reload has changed because you can change it now so that you don't have to date all of these people. It really is becoming more and more clear to me that every storyline is very intentionally leading towards all the women's social links are very intentionally leading towards romance because that was the only option.
Yeah.
Originally. And so, yeah, it's not, I mean, it is weird, but it's not as weird in the context of the original game where literally dating was the only option. So going on a dating site and doing this was very explicitly what your character wanted to be doing.
Yes.
Whereas
yeah. It obviously
now you can role play it slightly differently.
Exactly. And that does mean, newer decisions, I guess, for those later conversations. But if you do follow the trail of conversation as it goes on, they all in their different ways really, really start to lean into, we might be in love it's just like, that's where it has to go. And so it's nice that it doesn't have to go that way. But yeah.
That's actually how I got my wife, was I stared at a dating website and thought about her every night for a week.
What a story, man. When are they turning it into a movie?
Tale as old as time.
Yeah. It's my favorite Disney princess story.
Anyway, let's go on to the 13th. So this is the start of a really interesting thing, I think, which is Ryoji butting into other interactions as a thing, which I'm very fascinated to see continue. So Yukari is talking about how she thinks Ryoji is weirdly affectionate, and she means that both in the asking out thing, but also just sort of generally he's acting like he's everyone's best friend right away, right? Yeah. He's super just very comfortable and trying to be very comfortable with people right away. And then he shows up in that scene. And it's very rare that some second person shows up to these outside of the school scenes in the morning. And he shows up and he basically explains, because he transferred at a weird time, he just wants to get to know everyone in a hurry. So he's just trying to get to that level of friendliness with everyone right away.
And what a scene, because he asks Yukari to get food. And my girl just turns and leaves.
She's so good in this and the upcoming scene where he asks if she wants to get some food later and she just walks away. It doesn't even, there's nothing, she does not say a word. There's no little ... dialogue box.
That's what I expect. I've seen this scene twice now and I thought it was going to still pop up and it doesn't. And I love that it doesn't.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It is the correct response. what do you do during the day?
Even though I went to get points with Fuka, needed more points. So I hung out with Hayase and got him to rank 4.
Wow. Okay. I got Fuka to 8.
Nice.
So I'm close on her in terms of finishing it off now.
Very good.
Yeah. In the evening, I came to a terrible realization, which is if you don't put the taiyaki in the fridge on the day the fridge is cleaned out, it doesn't let you put the taiyaki in the fridge.
It's a hard lesson we got to learn. Yeah.
And this is the day that I went, nah, this taiyaki mechanic sucks and should go away. It's bad and they should feel bad about putting it in the game.
It is, I would say it is definitely one of the most arbitrary things.
Because the rewards aren't even good.
That's the thing. The reward isn't that great, but the sadness I have felt when I miss it, like the anger, so far outweighs it. It's almost impressive to that extent that it can, like, I know it's not worth it. I know it's fine. But part of me is like, well, why did I miss it? I shouldn't have missed it. He remembers to go take the plant out, but he doesn't remember the taiyaki. What the hell?
The whole taiyaki thing, I think for me, it's not a mechanic I mind. If there was a little thing where every couple of weeks you had to put an item into a machine to get a different item out, that's cute. The little notes you get from people are cute. All of that is fine. The thing to me is in this game about magical dark hours and shadows and robots that go to school and the literal incarnation of death and all of that, I cannot suspend my disbelief that this fridge is this full all the time. There's no room. It doesn't make sense that when you take a thing out of it, who's cleaning? Why is it? Whose food is this?
We should just stop playing.
That's the
Send
show,
it back.
everybody.
Yeah. I'm going to leave a bad Steam review. The fridge makes no sense.
No, this is not a serious issue. It's just something that is
very
so
funny.
silly. So silly to me.
No, I've had the same exact thought. When I would miss it on my first run, I'd be like, why the hell did I miss that? And then I would also be like, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You can have a conversation. There's another chat you can do with Mitsuru, who asks about the trip coming up and sort of is a little cryptic about whether she wants to go, which is a thing that comes up a little later as well.
Yeah.
But she's pretty down still. I don't remember if this is the exact moment she says she's willing to go to Tartarus again or if that comes later, but that happens sometime soon as well. And then what did you do during the evening?
More points with Fuka.
That makes sense.
I'm committed.
I did the dating set for Yuko because I wanted to just kind of keep topping that off for now.
Cool.
I'm pretty close on finishing like a couple people, and I think I only have like 5 or so social links beyond that. I don't think I'm gonna finish it all in time, but
you're doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, I took stock and I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty far along on this. I do not think I'm going to finish it all, and I think that's okay. I'm fine with it because I'm not going for the platinum or anything like you are, but yeah. Not as far off as I thought.
Yeah.
The 14th. You get a little conversation at the beginning of the day with Junpei and Ryoji. They're just chatting, and you're like, oh, that's weird that you're just chatting with Junpei, and Junpei has been teaching him about the school and teaching him all sorts of cool things and terrible, inappropriate things, and you get to kind of rag on Junpei and make fun of him a little bit and make him not look cool in Ryoji's while Ryoji is there.
I mean, he already doesn't look cool because he's making a top 10 cuties list, but you know,
top 10 cuties of Gekkokan High.
Sorry if that
list.
Was your pop quiz.
No, it's fine. It was just it's a very good little thing. And he's just a total dweeb.
Yep.
Because I also love the idea that like Junpei is giving this dude who every girl in the school wants to date him, and Junpei's like, stick with me, I'll help you out.
I'll show you. He might as well be asking Kenji at this point.
I know, right? It might as well be asking Koromaru.
Hey, Koromaru could get the ladies.
actually probably true. I lost my place in my tracker. There we go.
We had that conversation.
Yeah, you have that conversation, and then you get another incredibly long Edogawa lecture. He says that he was asked to step in late, and so he doesn't have one prepared, so it's only, 2/3 as long as they usually are, all about breathing techniques and how that relates to magic. I fell asleep.
That's fair. I'll be real. I just fast forwarded this one. I've usually been reading them. I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good today.
I skim them.
Sure.
I'm like roll up my sleeves and then just kind of press X a little too fast. You know?
I get
just go a little quick.
Yep. Maybe I miss a phrase here, beginning of a sentence there. It's fine. I'm getting the gist of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then you get this story scene. And so this is sort of the bigger, I think, story scene of this week, which is Mitsuru and Yukari on the roof of the school. And Yukari was asked by somebody else, one of the student council peoples, to come find her because she was missing a student council meeting, which is very unlike Mitsuru. I don't know why I have this in my notes. I just wrote Yukari is sort of being normal. I think the point being they've had a very fraught relationship.
Yeah.
And Yukari is being pretty chill and treating her very not like pitying her, I guess is what I mean too.
Yeah, I think she says it in so many words, but she's essentially like, look, I know what it's like to lose my dad as well, and I kind of want us to be more upfront in this friendship and not beat around the bush. It's been contentious. They've clearly reserved a lot of, at least Yukari has held back a lot of anger, and it's led to outbursts and things of that nature when it came to how she felt about Mitsuru. And so here she's like, I just want us to be, real with each other. I know what you're going through in so much as I can, and we can, I think, be there for each other even if we haven't before. And then
well, so the other part of that is that the thing that sort of spurred her honesty too is that Mitsuru says she was thinking of skipping the trip entirely, right?
Yeah. Apologies, I thought that happened later. Yeah.
No. So that's why Yukari is basically like, don't do that.
Yeah.
I think she specifically says she doesn't want their friendship to be over, right? She doesn't want she doesn't want to lose Mitsuru to this, this terrible tragedy and kind of her going inside of herself too much.
Yeah.
And it's really genuine and really honest and really kind of heart-wrenching that Yukari is this, she says, I think she explicitly says that it's hard for her to relate to Mitsuru. It's hard for them to have much common ground. And as horrible as it is, this is common ground. This is a way that she can understand what she is going through and feeling. And it does grow them closer. And then a horn dog with a yellow scarf shows up.
He really just self-inserts him into this really beautiful, touching moment. And it's like, oh, I'm also looking for Mitsuru.
Yeah, he said I can't remember his name right now. The guy Odagiri sent him to go look because Odagiri is freaking out. And so he shows up and was looking for her and asks Mitsuru out in like such a cheese ball, like almost as ravishing as you look right now, Mitsuru. Do you want to go out and get some food sometime?
Just also almost immediately. Like he finds her and then is like, let's go out. I know a place at the top of a 5-star hotel. Me, a beautiful view.
Yeah, it's really gross. It's any of the innocence that he exhibited in that other scene is just gone in a flash, where it's like very clearly he's being sleazy here.
Yes. This guy will hit on anything with a pulse in front of him is essentially how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mitsuru sort of ignores him and has a moment, thankfully, where she says thank you to Yukari, and it really meant a lot to her. And she said, for now, I'd better see to my duties. And Yukari sort of points out that for now is a little bit concerning to her. Mm-hmm. And then the best end to the scene possible, he says, aw, she left. She blew me off. What about you, Yukari? Do you want to go out? And there's this great moment where she walks towards him and the camera just fades to black, and then you just hear her beating the crap out of him, basically.
It's so good.
So the first time he asks her out, she just walks away from him without a word. And then this time, without a word, she just turns and like socks him in the jaw, probably.
Yeah, it's like, I hope you're getting the message now, my guy. Stop it.
Yeah, Yukari's great. And
It's wonderful.
Really shines in both of those moments.
Yeah. But no, to your point, totally. I think it is really interesting that those first couple of scenes with him this week are like, oh, it could just be this innocence where he just doesn't know how to interact with people.
He just wants to learn about people.
Yeah. And so him attracting all these girls to him and just, oh, well, of course, why wouldn't I hang out with them? That's just what you do. But no, here it's very intentionally like, oh, no, he's being a creepy jerk. Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine the answer lies a little bit in the middle to some extent, but also, yeah, this is very explicitly, he knows what he's doing and it's gross.
It may have started innocent, but it is clearly not at this point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That day, what did you do? I got Yuko to 8, so definitely getting further, and the sexual tension is ramping up.
It really does in that one. We'll talk about it because I got Yuko to rank 9.
Hey, we're right online.
Yeah.
And then in the evening, you go back to the dorm. Mitsuru is at the table again and says, this is where she says she will join you in Tartarus again.
Yes.
So you can now finally go back to Tartarus with your full team. I am, of course, waiting for idiots to wander in.
Yeah, why would you at this point? Elizabeth hasn't texted.
I also am waiting for just like something else to happen.
Sure.
Because I feel like there's gonna be something that happens, especially maybe with the trip.
Yeah.
I want a little bit more intel before I go into Tartarus again.
I got that.
And then what did you do in the evening?
I walked Koromaru, and then I rewound and used the website again to get points with Miyamoto because I realized I hadn't finished this one, even though we talked about him way back in the day. What happened was I realized it. We talked about it. And so in my brain, I went, oh, I maxed out this guy. I don't need to talk to him. And then I was walking around the classroom a few days ago and I'm like, wait, I'm at rank 8 with this dude? What? So it was a blocked rank 8. So I had to go and did the website. And yeah, that was what I did.
Well, now I like to imagine you've spent 2 days sitting in this chair, staring at Fuka, thinking about her. And then on day 3, you're just sitting in this chair, staring at Fuka, thinking about Miyamoto.
Yeah. I was like, track. Yes, lovely.
Still looking Fuka dead in the eyes the
What's
entire
going on
evening.
here? Does he want to cook? What is this?
Oh, man. So that was the evening of the 14th. So let's move on to the 15th.
Did you say what you did for the evening?
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't. I did the dating site with staring at Fuka.
Okay. Just makes sense.
I think this one was speculative. I did Fuka a couple times this evening where I just sort of like I wanted to get the ones that I wanted to max rank up, and all of the people that I'm not max rank on, like Hiraga and Hayase, I'm already ready for a level up. So I just kept doing the people I had just spent time with a lot of the time, so that I could. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although this one was Fuka because I knew I wasn't quite ready for her yet.
Yeah.
Yes. So the 15th, this is a Sunday. We have the shopping channel where you can buy a jacket. Whose jacket? Sid's jacket.
Oh, I thought it was going to be your pop quiz, so I didn't want to say.
No, that was a pop quiz question, but
yeah.
Who's Sid?
Well,
I'd rather just ask who Sid is.
He's from another franchise.
Like the Final Fantasy Sid?
No, I just like to think it is, even though it's spelled differently. I just like to imagine that this is their sort of reference to that. Yeah.
That's a bonus pop quiz. Anybody knows who Sid is? Let me know.
How old would Sid from Toy Story be at this point?
Oh man, Sid SYD too. It feels like a reference. Is the reason I ask?
Yeah, same. I didn't look at the item info, so I don't know.
During the day, I got Kamiki to 8. I assume. Did you get Kamiki to 10?
This was max rank with Kamiki, so yes, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Or probably my condolences.
We'll talk about this one.
I did realize I had a moment where we walked up to him, and he's at the beginning of this one. Slight spoilers for Kamiki, but I assume most people are kind of keeping up with this one to some extent, or at least know the gist of he's terminally ill, and maybe this is not going to end well. That's speculation on my part, but you walk up to him and he's coughing really bad, and I was just like, oh no, me hanging out with him is killing him. Like, if I never spend time with him, he's not gonna die. He'll just be on that park bench the whole game.
He's still waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. But every time I hang out with him, he gets a little sicker than the last time.
I will say what's really interesting is I think once you hit max rank, I guess theoretically in 2 Sundays, if there's no blockers,
Right.
you'll probably want to talk about it instantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can plan around that.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yes, that was my day.
Great. Yeah, so that was Kamiki during the day. What do you do during the evening? I think I used the dating site for Fuka again just to be sure.
Okay, that's fair. I planted with Aegis because my plants were almost done, and I figured, let me just do this. It'll help. The only thing I'll say is there is a very fun, and I think it can come up the day after as well, there is a fun back and forth conversation happening there with Yukari as a tour guide for the trip in the dorm, if you talk with everyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this fun conversational bit about if you talk to Fuka, she's like, oh, Yukari, because you're, I guess slight spoilers, but you can find this in the conversation. The trip is to Kyoto.
Oh, yes. We stopped. We can talk about that tomorrow too, because that was the Coda thing. But yeah, continue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll do it then. But yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I missed that she's going to be a tour guide. Oh, yes, because she used to live there. And
yes.
So that was the conversation.
And
she used to live there, but like she was just young and she doesn't really want to be everybody's tour guide, and everyone is expecting her to be.
Yeah, Fuka's like, we should ask her, and then you go talk to Yukari, and Yukari's like, I really hope people don't want me to be their tour guide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's that's that day. So let's move on to the 16th, which is the last day.
Yes.
And this is Ikoda at the beginning. You have a lecture from Ikoda who says, hey, we're leaving on this trip tomorrow, which caught me off guard because I thought there was going to be one more day, but I guess there's a travel day for it. This is where I just wrote Ikoda sucks, because he brings up that other teachers thought that all you kids should go to some other country, like P5 has the Hawaii trip, and you should go to some other country. And he's like, no, children do not respect the culture of Japan enough today, so we're going to Kyoto. And everyone sounds like a little bummed that they're just like going somewhere in Japan for this school trip that should have been overseas or something like that. And he's very adamant about it. And yeah, he sucks. He's a jerk.
Yeah. It would be like, hey kids, we're going to go to New York. Buffalo, New York. Not New York. Buffalo's nice. I'm not, but it's just like if you're from out of state and it's like, we're going to go to the Big Apple. Whoa. And it's like, no, actually we're going to upstate New York where it's very cold.
Kyoto's cool. It's just also
totally.
like, or like for us, it would be like, or for me in the Bay Area, it would be like if somebody in a San Francisco school was like, we're taking a big class trip. We're going to LA and we're not going to go to Disneyland or do anything in LA. We're just going to LA to visit. And
we're going to Bakersfield. Why?
Yeah. Or Sacramento. Sacramento is the capital of California, but nobody wants to go visit there.
Except then I keep getting, I don't know, you're not on TikTok, I think, as much as I am. There's this phenomenon of people,
0.
I think, who live in Sacramento who are mad that people have started moving to Sacramento because like the cost of living was pretty low, but now it's getting worse. And so they're like, no, don't come here anymore. It was nice and we had good restaurants. Go away. It's a little fun California geography for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then we have just a day and a night, I think, although there's a little bit of nighttime conversation stuff. But what did you do for this last day?
I can just say the day and night if it's easy. And
sure.
Yeah. I hung out with Fuka for rank 8.
Nice.
And then I did the fan site for the ninja thing that I think you did last week or the week before that makes your ambushes better. So
sure.
Yeah.
Cool. I did Fuka to 9.
Nice.
I don't... Maybe we can talk about this next week. But I don't think I got an option to date her.
You would have had to say certain things correctly.
Oh, you specifically have to say certain things correctly?
So the way this works, I believe, is in rank 9 is where you essentially make the choice to either be friends or romance.
Yeah, but usually it like warns you before that choice.
I don't think it does here.
Wild. I hope I'm not dating Fuka.
I think you would know because after the Yukari one, I knew we were dating. So
weird. Okay, well then I guess I accidentally didn't date Fuka, which is fine because I didn't want to.
Yeah, you're holding out.
Yeah, I went through that conversation and I was like, wait a minute. Afterwards.
Yeah, I believe that's the way it works. Is that there is a choice or two that you make in the rank 9 that will then kind of lead to like, oh, we're dating now.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, my assumption was just like either I had misremembered or it was going to be happening at 10 and I just didn't know.
Yeah. It's
okay.
A little bit weird.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Evening, I did the dating site for Yuko because I want to try to finish that one off. But there was also a couple other things. Because your trip is tomorrow, your shopping stuff arrives already. So you get that stuff early, which is, I think, a piece of armor and something else. Sid's jacket, of course. How could I forget? And then also, you get a sort of conclusion of a mini storyline that has been happening this week, which is that Junpei is super sad about Chidori.
Yes.
And very trying to visit her, and she doesn't laugh at any of his jokes, and everyone's like, why are you here, dude? But then today, he decides that he's happy, and that he's going to feel better about it, and he's not going to be down about Chidori, and he's going to go have fun on his school trip.
Good for him. We'll see how it goes next week.
He's going to be sad the whole time.
You'll find out.
We've got... That's all, though.
Yeah.
We've got for this week.
That's the week.
We've got days next week. I'm sorry. It's been a week for me, too.
You're good. And you may have already seen some of next week because it does kick you right into the scene if you do the night.
It does. And then I Alt F4'd my game on the computer. Just that's like, fair. No. November 17th to the 23rd will be what we go through next week. It will be the school trip plus a little bit, I'm pretty sure. We're going to Kyoto. It'll be great. Yukari's going to be our tour guide. Do we have any questions, comments, anything from the viewers before we jump into that?
Nothing huge that I would want to take away from where we're going into next week. I will say we got, and you let me know, and I'll consider this a spoiler and we cut it out. Shade left us an interesting comment that I thought was cool. This is from episodes back, though.
Okay.
So they were listening to one of the episodes from over the summer to check something, which I appreciate. Pump up those past backlog catalog numbers. Thank you.
Was it how many times I was right about Ikutsuki?
No, it was something about how we were wondering how the Kirijo group knew of shadows before the existence of the Dark Hour.
Oh, sure.
And the game has technically answered that question already, but it's in a way that you wouldn't know if you hadn't played other Persona games.
Oh.
So you might remember being told that the Kirijo group split off from the Nanjo group.
Uh-huh.
What we obviously don't know is that one of your party members in Persona 1 is Kai or K, K-E-I, Nanjo, the heir to the Nanjo group. So the Kirijo group would have theoretically learned probably of shadows through the Nanjo group since this character interacted with shadows in a past Persona game.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's actually very cool to know.
Yeah. Which is really cool. I really want to experience the Persona 1 and 2's multiples stories. I know that there is probably interesting stuff I would really want to do. I just don't know if I want to go back and play them.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm here's hoping for like a 1 and 2 HD remake or something like that in some day and age.
Yeah, I would love it. I know they play differently too and pretty demonstrably, so I don't know what they would do to update it, but I know that those have been things Atlas has put in fan surveys of what would you like to see us do, and those are obviously things people really, really want, so I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a part of Persona that I find fascinating, which is like they don't really touch on this very much. They allude to it a lot, and maybe 4 has more about this, I don't know, but if this is a shared universe, and obviously I think it is to some extent, but it's not crystal clear, right?
Sure.
And so you get all these situations where, like, obviously Igor is the same between games, and there's lots of little connections, little references. The Nanjo group is a very direct connection, right? But they don't really jump into it a lot, and it's fascinating to me because you do get moments like this, or like in P5, a really exciting moment, very minor spoilers for P5 here, but the really exciting moment for me is you spend a lot of that game just assuming you're the only people who know about the metaverse. And then at some point in the game, you kind of get a kick in the teeth where you're like, oh, there's other people who are using this for their own purposes. And there's a government group that was studying it. And, how much of that is connected to these other events or like other games or that sort of thing is really fascinating to me, and not a thing that like I feel like we're waiting for a game sort of like what the Trails series did, where suddenly all of these somewhat disparate stories are legitimately connected in a real way that's not just like the Q games, it's crossover funsies.
Exactly. We're sort of waiting for it. That probably is a much better apt comparison, because in my brain I'm like, we're waiting for the Infinity War endgame of Persona sort of thing.
Yeah, which is that's also what the Trails series got compared to, right? Is that they basically did that. They had like 3 different series of games, and they said, hey, what if we put all of these characters in and combined their storylines? And
yeah. It is really interesting, because it's like, I do really appreciate that there isn't a need for massive prior knowledge in this series from one to the next.
Yes, me too.
It's wonderful to have that. But yes, you do also kind of crave a little bit of interconnectivity, just naturally, I think, to some degree, when it's a numbered series. But obviously Final Fantasy is similar as well.
And a numbered series in the same world. Like, it is...
Yes.
We don't know if it's quote-unquote the same universe, necessarily, but we do know it is real-life Japan. It is not, it's not Midgar, right? It is not... It is not a fake world that they created for this game. It is a fantasy version of our world. Yeah. And so, that's interesting. It's kind of a side topic.
I think it's fair to say also here, and a good thing to point out, like, obviously we are not the most knowledgeable about the entire series overall. So we're clearly speaking from a place of ignorance there. So, like, apologies if we get some details wrong on that sort of larger scale stuff. But again, I think there's like an interest to want to know about those things, but it's hard to get to.
Yeah, and I appreciate that call out with the Nanjo group thing. That's really cool.
Anyway, what's your pop quiz for this week that only I will answer next week?
Pop quiz. Whose jacket was that? No. Here's a very simple quiz that Jonathan's not going to get.
Great.
Because he doesn't like hanging out with his friends. Oh, actually, you did do this one. You go to a bar with Ken. It's called K Sera Sera. You walk into the bar. What is written on the sign above the name of the bar?
Oh, I think I know one word.
I do a lot of these quizzes where it's like looking at background signs and things like that, because they always just tickle me.
Yeah.
You can probably go to the back alley and find this one too, but not if you're on a school trip. Anyway, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you still what your answers are. We will go back and read them. We will check them because we like hearing from y'all. Or, what's on this bar that lets children come in and buy tea? That would also be cool. You can leave a comment at youtube.com/Dornology, dornology@gmail.com. You can email us at, you can find us on socials. I'm at Tom R. Marks in places. He's at JM Dornbush. I don't know. Are you on Blue Sky? That's a new thing.
I have it. I signed up for it a long time ago, and I don't think I ever used it, but I'm there.
Well, I'm there too if you are changing social media platforms for whatever reason right now. You can also go to patreon.com/takeyourtime. I've had such a streak of nailing that lately.
You have, yeah.
Patreon.com/takeyourtime. You can subscribe there, leave a comment on the videos there, and chat with the lovely community that we have over there. If you enjoy the show and don't want to support us financially, that's okay too. You can also subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to, or give a like, or leave a review. All of those things help a lot as well. Jonathan, do you have anything for the people before we go?
We're heading toward the end of the year, and so I know a lot of platforms do this. Please, if we happen to be on your year-end listening things when those start to come out, I think those will start to unfurl in the end of November, beginning of December. Please share those with us. I think it's so rad when people have done that before. It's really heartwarming, but it's just really fascinating and cool to see. So appreciate it, and thank you to everyone if we end up on your listened lists for the year in any capacity. It means a lot to us. But yeah, I think it's so cool to see that because I love data. So yeah, send me the data, please.
Great. Yes, that's a good call out. And until then, like I said, next week we will not be able to see comments because we're going to be pre-recording it, but then we will be back in action the week after. And until then, we'll see you later.